Hello everyone, today we are taking up the topic excretory products and its elimination. In that, we are going to talk about two important parts. One, what are the excretory organs in different animal phyla, what we observed in our other chapter. Apart from that, what is their chief nitrogenous waste? What is their chief metabolic waste? And then we will be talking on anatomy of human excretory system, right? So in your lower grade, you have defined excretion as a process of removal of waste or maybe process of removal of metabolic waste from our body. That's true. But when we talk about excretory system, we are more precisely talking about the nitrogenous metabolic waste which has been produced in our body, and its removal is what we call it as excretion. And based on the excretory waste, animals are broadly classified into three categories, that is Ammonotelic, Ureotelic and Uricotelic. ऐसा नहीं कि तीन के अलावा और कोई कैटेगरी नहीं है. There are other nitrogenous waste also in different animal phyla, but majorly animals are divided into these three. So when we look into this part, as I said, excretion, I repeat the definition because we are bound to make an error in this definition. So excretion, that's the removal of मेटाबॉलिक वेस्ट, यानी कि हमारा जो CO2 एंड ऑफ द ग्लाइकोलिसिस या एंड ऑफ द क्रेब साइकिल जो प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है, उसको भी हम निकालने की जब बात कर रहे हैं, उसको भी हम एक्सक्रीशन में ही इन्वॉल्व करते हैं, दो इट गोज आउट फ्रॉम द लंग. So lung is definitely my accessory excretory organ, but the primary metabolic waste, which is very toxic, and that is my nitrogenous waste. And based on that, animals, as I said, are classified into three broader group, that is Ammonotelic, Ureotelic and the Uricotelism. Right? So when I say animal is ammonotelic, the chief nitrogenous waste is ammonia, whereas over here in ureotelic it's urea, and uricotelic it is uric acid. Right? So which animal eliminates ammonia as their chief nitrogenous waste? First of all, understand that ammonia is highly toxic, whereas urea is relatively less toxic and uric acid is the least toxic. Okay, whereas to eliminate 1 gram of ammonia, animal requires about 300 to 500 ml of water, whereas to remove 1 gram of urea, animal requires about 50 ml of water, and to eliminate 1 gram of uric acid, animal requires about 10 ml of water. Right? Ammonia, which is formed by just a deamination of amino acids, so बहुत ही easily without much energy बन जाता है. Urea is formed from the ammonia by the process called as ornithine cycle or urea cycle, and for that ATP is required, whereas uric acid is formed from again ammonia through ionosinic pathway, and for that energy requirement is very high. Right? I repeat, uric acid is via ionosinic pathway, whereas urea via ornithine, or you can also call it as a urea cycle, which we have discussed in a different section in detail. So let us understand which animal will be eliminating ammonia as it is, requiring this much amount of water, which animal will fall into this category where energy is definitely required but the water requirement is less, and the uricotelic where energy requirement is really high to produce uric acid and to eliminate it, but the water requirement is least. So now when we understand the examples, I mean to say the animal belonging to this category, very important points for the MCQ. So as we said, ammonotelic में water requirement is high, whereas the energy is least. और किसके पास ये available होगा? Definite है मेरे aquatic animals. Or more precisely, I would say my aquatic invertebrates are majorly belonging to ammonotelic group. यानी कि starting from porifera से लेके फिर वो coelenterata हो, टीनोफोरा हो, प्लेटीहेलमिंथ हो, एस्केलमेंथ हो, या फिर वो एनेलिडा हो, और इवन एक्वेटिक आर्थ्रोपोड, mollusks, they all are my majorly ammonotelic. Even when I've said invertebrates, यानी कि मेरा यूरोकॉर्डेट, cephalochordate, they also fall into the category of ammonotelic. Apart from them, even Pisces, that is precisely freshwater fish, or what we call it as a bony fish, belong to this category, and tadpole of amphibians, not the adult one, because adult amphibians are majorly into ureotelic, but tadpole of amphibians belong to ammonotelic. So these are the group of animals which are called as ammonotelic, whereas ureotelic जहां पे रिलेटिवली वाटर की रिक्वायरमेंट और वाटर की अवेलेबिलिटी कम है, दैट मीन्स माय कार्टिलेजिनियस फिश, adult amphibians, and mammals majorly belong to this category. Cartilaginous fish are exclusively marine in habitat, और वो marine habitat में खुद के body fluid का osmolarity maintain करने के लिए they store or they reserve some amount of urea, which is relatively less toxic. That's where they become ureotelic. And when we talk about uricotelic, are my majorly insects, birds, reptiles. They are my uricotelic animal because उनके पास water already बहुत कम है और वो elimination में कम से कम use करना चाहेंगे, and that's where uric acid comes into play. So apart from these three chief nitrogenous waste, there are two more which are very commonly discussed. One is TMO, that is trimethyl oxide, and second is guanine. So what happens in case of marine teleost ammonia is converted into TMO and is stored to maintain osmolarity because it is least toxic. So to maintain osmolarity, this is stored in body. Okay, so in case of marine teleost, TMO is the chief nitrogenous waste, whereas in case of especially spiders, ammonia is converted into insoluble guanine, तो वाटर की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं होती बिकॉज उनके पास ऑलरेडी वाटर कंजर्वेशन का चैलेंज होता है. सो दिस आर द एनिमल बेस्ड ऑन देयर एक्सक्रीटरी प्रोडक्ट्स. नाउ लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड excretory organs of this animal phylas. So now when we talk about the animal phyla against its excretory organ, that is starting from the first phyla, Porifera. Then as we go on in the classification, that is Coelenterata or Cnidaria. Next is Ctenophora. अगर मैं पहले ये तीन की बात कर लूं, obviously they do not have any specialized excretory organ, because first one, that is cell level organization, next two, that is tissue level organization, तो वहां पे कोई organ नहीं है. So यहां पे excretion जो होता है, that occurs through diffusion. It occurs directly through diffusion, right? Whereas the next phyla, the first phyla to have a specialized excretory organ, and that is Platyhelminth, where we say that the flame cells, or we also write it as Protonephridia, with solanocyte, which act as an excretory organ. Whereas Aschelminth, where rennet cells, specialized H-shaped rennet cells, act as an excretory organ. Next, we talk about Annelida, where Nephridia act as an excretory organ. Whereas arthropod, now as we know, this is the largest animal phyla, showing a huge variety, but most common, I would say the 75% of arthropod shows excretory organ as Malpighian tubule. It shows excretory organ as Malpighian tubule. Definitely arthropod में हमें और दो टाइप के excretory organ देखने मिलते हैं. That is, अगर मैं crustaceans की बात करूं, that is majorly aquatic arthropod. In them, we see green glands as an excretory organ, whereas arachnids, that is scorpion and spider, in them we see coxal gland as the excretory organs. So starting from Porifera, Coelenterata, Ctenophora, directly through diffusion, Platyhelminth, flame cells with Protonephridia, Aschelminth, rennet cells, Annelida has a nephridia as an excretory organ, whereas arthropod, majorly Malpighian tubule, अगर मुझे एक select करना है, but अगर arthropod में अगर मुझे specialize पूछा गया, that crustacean, aquatic arthropod, green glands, and the arachnid, that is spider and scorpion, coxal glands act as an excretory organ. So now moving on to the next set of animal phyla, starting with the first, that is mollusk, where organ of Bojanus, or we also call it as a pericardial gland because of its location, or the Cabers gland, act as an excretory organ. Now very important phyla coming up, that is Echinodermata, where there is no specialized excretory system present. Though Echinodermata classified so higher up, it does not have any specialized excretory system or the organ, or in this case, amino acid, I repeat, amino acid as it is, remove hota hai in the form of itself, and that why echinoderm are also called as aminotelic. Next, we talk about hemichordate, where we say proboscis gland act as an excretory organ. So, starting with Porifera, Coelenterate, Ctenophore, Platyhelminth, Aschelminth, Annelid, arthropod, mollusk, Echinodermata, and hemichordata. These are my non-chordate phyla and their excretory organ. Now, when I look at the chordates, in case of chordates, the first one, that is Urochordate, where neural gland act as an excretory organ, whereas in cephalochordate, we say that the Protonephridia act as an excretory organ. So now when we talk about cyclostome, Pisces and amphibians, it is said to be mesonephric kidney. Okay, whereas reptiles, birds, that is aves, and mammals, it is said to be metanephric kidney. Okay. So it is said that based on evolutionary pattern, there is something called as pronephric, mesonephric, or also called as ophistonephric and metanephric kidney. That is all based on the complexity of the structure of the nephron. Not a part of syllabus, so we are not going in detail, unnecessary to confuse, but yes, one need to understand we all have pronephric kidney during some stage of life, that is at least during our embryo stage, or in other animal during larval stage, they do show pronephric kidney. But in case of this, that is cyclostome, amphibians and Pisces, it evolves into mesonephric kidney where nephrostome is still functional, whereas in our case, that is metanephric kidney where nephrostome is not functional and we have a very well developed loop of Henle. So that is with respect to excretory organs and its waste with respect to animal diversity. So now when we take a quick recap of whatever we discussed, starting from protozoans, definitely that's a part of protist, but yes, from here onwards, porifera, nidaria, platyhelminth, or I would rather call it till crustaceans, all are chiefly ammonotelic. Definitely arachnid, that's a part of arthropod, जहाँ पे हमने गुएनाइन की भी बात की. Apart from that, insect, Uricotelic, mollusk, Ammonotelic, even echinoderm, hemichordate, urochordate, cephalochordate, all are Ammonotelic. Pisces, that is bony fish, Ammonotelic, cartilaginous fish, Ureotelic. Amphibian, tadpole, Ammonotelic, adult, Ureotelic. In fact, amphibians like salamander, even in adult form, remains as ammonotelic, but otherwise most of the adult amphibians are ureotelic, whereas reptiles and birds are uricotelic, and lastly mammals, that is ureotelic. Very important for your MCQs, keep in mind. Coming to their organ, yes, initially all where there is diffusion is the chief mode. After that, Protonephridia with flame cells comes in platyhelminth. Rennet cells in case of aschelminth or nematode. Annelida with nephridia. Arachnida, that's a part of arthropod, has coxal gland. Otherwise, insects, which forms a major part of the arthropod, Malpighian tubule. Mollusk, Caber's gland or organ of Bojanus. Echinoderm, tube feet, because it does not have any specialized organ. The part of the water vascular system only helps in elimination of waste. Whereas hemichordate, proboscis gland, urochordate, neural gland, cephalochordate, protonephridia with solenocyte, whereas Pisces amphibians have mesonephric kidney, reptiles, birds and mammals have metanephric kidney. So that's with respect to excretory organ and excretory waste in various animal phyla.